Welcome to this pre-recorded session for the Students with Intensive Support Needs application process, which is referred to as SISNA and will be often stated as such throughout this presentation. This session was developed by the staff from the Office of Special Education, Finance, and Budget, often referred to as the FAB team. Synethia Reed and Paul Raskoff manage the Students with Intensive Support Needs reimbursement process. Synethia, known as CC, is the woman in charge. Paul Raskoff works with CC to manage division's reimbursements. This session was developed to assist school division personnel in completing the application for the reimbursement of costs for students with the most intensive instructional and support needs enrolled in Virginia Public Schools. This session will cover the purpose of this application, instructions for completing and submitting the Excel workbook application, and provide you with dates for the regional question and answer session. During this session, it would be helpful for you to have available the June 15th, 2023 Superintendent's Memo number 116-23 regarding special education intensive support needs application due September 29th, 2023. Number 2, you should have the SISNA Excel workbook. Get it by accessing it on the Single Sign-On Web System, SSWS. Click on the SISNA section and download it to your desktop. And last year's SISNA application, if applicable. Now that you know the objectives and the resources needed, let me welcome CC Reed and Paul Raskoff, who will dazzle you with the simplicity of completing the SISNA. Paul is our first presenter. Paul, it's all yours.
Thank you, Joanne, and welcome everyone to our audio training session, during which we'll provide you with information related to the Students with Intensive Support Needs application, the SISNA. As noted, you access the SISNA on your Single Sign-On for Web Systems, SSWS. Questions about your Single Sign-On SSWS account or help with any problems with the account can be addressed by your local school division SSWS account manager. They should be your first point of contact. If for some reason your local account manager is unavailable, the Virginia Department of Education, VDOE, data services staff will be able to help. Their email contact information is resultshelp@doe.virginia.gov.
Once you have logged on to SSWS, on the applications page, you will select the Special Ed Students with Intensive Support Needs application, SISNA.
Once the user has accessed Special Ed Students with Intensive Support Needs application, you will find the welcome page.
Located on the welcome page, you will find a welcome message. On the right under the Instructions tab, you will find the guidance documents and the SISNA. Select and download the guidance documents and the SISNA to gain access to the documents and the application.
Okay, now that we've provided you with information about your SSWS access, we'd like to address the purpose of the SISNA. This is the first of a series of varied training opportunities the Virginia Department of Education will be providing for divisions. Again, the SISNA is the application that the VDOE uses to provide an opportunity for all school divisions to receive funds to offset the high cost of providing instructional and direct services to students identified as meeting the criteria as students with intensive support needs. The VDOE requires the use of this application as part of the process for school divisions to be able to receive reimbursement for costs incurred for certain services for certain high cost or expensive or hard to serve students.
Thank you, Paul. Prior to completing the SISNA, it is strongly recommended that school divisions create a school division team to assist in formulating information that will be used to complete and submit the SISNA. This team should consist of, but not limited to, the superintendent and individuals from the finance, data, and instruction department. It is recommended the team do the following: identify and clarify each team member's role in the school division SISNA process, especially in understanding how the process continues throughout the school year. Review the superintendent and assistant superintendent's memos pertaining to the SISNA. Review school division's data to determine the students the school division plan to include in the SISNA. Review all guidance documents that support the SISNA, and if applicable, review the previous year's approved SISNA. Be mindful that the submission of the SISNA is the first step in the process for applying for funds. As a reminder, the SISNA is due to the VDOE by 5:00 p.m. on September 29th, 2023. Now we will discuss the contents of the SISNA Excel workbook. The SISNA Excel workbook has 10 tabs. The tabs are as follows: cover page, overview of SISNA, content and assurances information, student eligibility, student selection, services cost analysis, summary of costs, collaboration and partnerships, previous year's funds, and checklists. As a part of the presentation today, you will receive information on how to complete each tab.
Tab number 1 is the cover page. With this tab, divisions are required to provide identifying information to confirm the legal entity submitting a SISNA application for funds. Each division selects their division from the drop-down table provided. Each division also selects the name of the partnership of which they are a member from that drop-down table provided. And each division selects the Intensive Support Services code, the ISS code, associated with their partnership, again from the drop-down table provided. If a division is a new applicant with a new partnership, they can type in the name of their partnership. If an ISS code has not been assigned yet by VDOE, state that when they enter the name of the partnership. VDOE will assign ISS codes as needed for any new partnerships. Each division will also enter the original submission date for their SISNA. The division will provide the name of the division's special ed director, and if an amendment is required, the school divisions will enter the amendment number and date in the boxes on the top left and have an explanation for the amendment in the amendment section.
An approved SISNA allows school divisions to submit a reimbursement claim for services provided for students with intensive support needs. When selecting students, school divisions will need to review the school division's individual student information to determine if students meet the eligibility requirements and determine if the students are expensive or hard to serve students. The school division must also have a partnership with one or more school divisions and have a current documented memorandum of understanding. After completing the service cost analysis in SISNA, the school division will need to create a SISNA zip file that includes the SISNA services cost analysis and a copy of the memorandum of understanding agreement. The zip file should be saved and uploaded to the SISNA application via SSWS as follows: the school division's name, SISNA zip file, for example, Jackson County SISNA zip file 2023-2024. The SISNA must be submitted to the Virginia Department of Education by 5 p.m. on September 29, 2023. This tab provides a brief overview for completing the SISNA.
Tab number 3 of the SISNA includes the division contact information and information related to the submission of assurances. With this tab, the division provides the name and contact information of the person who is responsible for completing the SISNA. The division will also include the number of days for each semester for that division's school year, including the summer session. Also with this tab, the division applying for funds is made aware of certain basic conditions related to the provision of the funds and the use of the funds being applied for. A primary purpose for including these assurances in the SISNA is to provide formal recognition and acknowledgement of the conditions for the use of funds for certain costs and services. For each assurance, there is a drop-down box in which the division selects yes or no, indicating they understand and accept a specific requirement. Once the superintendent's name is typed in the space provided, this will indicate, again, the understanding and acceptance of the required condition for the use of these funds.
The Student Eligibility tab describes the mandatory eligibility requirements for each student identified in the SISNA. Each student must meet the first 3 eligibility requirements and have 3 or more of the following 10 eligibility requirements. The school division will need to use the drop-down buttons to select yes, no to the appropriate statement that applies to all the students included in the SISNA. Please refer to the mandatory requirements for each student identified as intensive support needs checklist documented located on the SSWS instruction section. On the bottom tab, there is an amendment section. This section is used in 2 instances. The VDOE is requiring the school division to amend the SISNA, or the school division will need to make changes to the SISNA. Information on amendments can be found on SSWS in the instructions tab. On the student selection tab, school divisions will need to provide a detailed explanation on how the school division selected students included in the SISNA. The school division will also have to include the total number of students by primary disability category. The total number of students will automatically calculate based on the numbers provided. Using the drop-down buttons, the school division will select the appropriate statement that applies to all the students included in the SISNA. As stated earlier, on the bottom of the tab, there is an amendment section. This section is used in two instances. The VDOE is requiring the school division to amend the SISNA, or the school division will need to make changes to the SISNA. This information can be found on SSWS in the instruction section.
Tab number 6 of the SISNA is the services cost analysis. In accordance with the Code of Virginia, 8 VAC 20-81-240 and the Virginia Appropriation Act 22.1-218, a school division receives funds for students identified as meeting the criteria as a student with intensive support needs in lieu of other state funds. That's in accordance with language in the state special education regulations. This includes a school division's individual average daily membership ADM amount, some of the funds provided for funded teaching positions through the Standards of Quality SOQ funding model, as well as certain other state funds. School divisions should refer to their calc tool concerning state funding. On this tab, divisions are provided with information on the requirement to develop an Excel spreadsheet that includes the estimated annual costs for services and staff needed for each student identified as a student with intensive support needs and included in the SISNA. This information should be related to the services and staffing specified in each student's IEP. To provide the required information for the estimated annual costs for these services and staffing needs, the division will need the hourly rates for the teachers, paraprofessionals, bus drivers, etc., that serve and support students with intensive support needs. Divisions will also need to be able to separate the specific information for the students identified in the SISNA as having intensive support needs from other students in each class. When completed, the services cost analysis spreadsheet will reflect the expected annual costs for the services and staffing needed for those students identified in the SISNA. Please note, include the student testing identifier, the STI, for each individual student included in the services cost analysis spreadsheet. While the time needed to complete the services cost analysis correctly can be labor intensive, the level of detail provided in the SISNA is exactly the level of detail needed later in the year when divisions submit semester claims for the costs incurred for the identified students. Guidance on information that must be included in the services cost analysis spreadsheet, such as whether or not certain costs are allowable to claim for reimbursement, will be provided by VDOE staff on an ongoing group and individual basis. Please note, divisions should not apply their local composite index, the LCI, to their total expected annual costs, itemized for each student in the cost analysis spreadsheet. LCI is applied later by the Virginia Department of Education Budget Office when determining the exact amount of reimbursement each school division will receive.
For the first student at the elementary school, Teacher 1 provides 4 hours of direct services to the student. Teacher 1's hourly salary is $35 an hour, and they have 3 students in the class. To determine the total cost for educating this student for a day, you would divide $35 by 3, the number of students in the class, and multiply that number by 4, the number of hours the student received direct services, to give you $46.67. This is also done for Teacher 2 and Adaptive PE. Since this student has a one-to-one aide, you will multiply the one-to-one aide's hourly salary of $20 by 5, the number of hours they use to support the student. That would give you a total of $100. For transportation, the bus driver and the transportation aide salary are multiplied by the number of hours the student receives special transportation to and from school. To get the total cost for the school day for this student, you would add the following numbers: $46.67, $20, $100, $13.33, $40, and $40, to give you a total of $260. You would then multiply $260 by the number of school days. The total instructional cost for this student for 180 days is $46,800. As you can see, the physical therapy and occupational therapy services are contracted services at $70 an hour per week. The total cost for these contracted services is calculated separately. Then, the totals for the contracted services for 36 weeks equals $5,040. This student has an assistive technology device that costs $500. This student also participated in summer school that costs $2,000. Please note that assistive technology and summer school costs are applied after the total costs have been calculated, since they are a one-time cost. The total annual cost to educate this student is $54,340. Our middle school student, Teacher 1 provides 4 hours of direct services to the student. Teacher 1's hourly salary is $56 an hour, and they have 6 students in the class. To determine the total cost for educating this student for a day, you will divide $56 by 6, the number of students in the class, and multiply that number by 4, the number of hours the student receives direct services, to give you a total of $57.33. This is also done for Teacher 2, Teacher 3, and Adaptive PE. To get the instruction total cost for the school day for this student, you would add the following numbers: $37.33, $15.50, $15, $10, $60, $40, and $25, to give you a total of $202.83. You would then multiply $202.83 by the number of school days. The total instruction cost for educating this student is $36,510. As you can see, the speech and occupational therapy services are contracted services at $35 per half hour per week. The total cost for these contracted services is calculated separately. Then the totals for the contracted services for 36 weeks equal $2,520. This student received ESY services for a total cost of $33,500. The ESY costs are applied after the total costs have been calculated since they are a one-time cost. The total instruction and contracted services for this student is $42,530.
Tab number 7 of the SISNA is the summary of costs. In this tab, divisions are required to provide sum totals for all of the individual students' costs itemized in the cost analysis spreadsheet, and to total these costs by general category. The SISNA has examples of the general categories which can be used if appropriate. The total for each general category, when added up, will match the total amount for all of the individual student total expected annual costs. Divisions can add other categories to include other individual student costs they might be including in their SISNA. The summary of costs is also where divisions should list other costs they expect to claim reimbursement for. For example, personnel development, PD, that don't easily fit in the cost analysis spreadsheet as an individual student cost. This tab in the SISNA will automatically add all the individual category totals for an overall total sum of the division's annual expected costs. Unspent carryover or fund balance from prior years enter as a negative number. And to repeat an earlier note, divisions should not apply their local composite index, their LCI, to their total expected annual cost.
In accordance with the Code of Virginia 20.881-230, school divisions are required to partner with one or more school divisions. On this tab, the school division will need to provide a description of activities the partnership entities provide to support students with intensive support needs. School divisions will need to send a copy of the school division's Memorandum of Understanding agreement in the school division's SISNA zip file via SSWS. The MOU document should be saved and sent as follows: the school division's name, MOU, and school year. For example, Jackson County MOU 2023-2024. The zip file should be saved and uploaded to the SISNA application via SSWS.
Tab 9 is the use of previous year's funds. In this tab, divisions will provide a summary statement addressing how the school division used the funds they were reimbursed from the immediate previous school year. Essentially, the division is confirming that funds received were used in accordance with VDOE requirements and consistent with the specific information submitted with previous year's SISNA and previous year's claims. As with all state funds, funds reimbursed for costs used to provide services for students with intensive support needs are subject to review and audit.
The submission checklist is a tool to assist school divisions in ensuring each tab has been completed and the correct documents have been saved using the correct name, format, and submitted. This tab is for school divisions to use as a tool only. The following documents must be submitted via SSWS: the completed SISNA, service cost analysis, and memorandum of understanding. After completing the service cost analysis and SISNA, the school division will need to create a SISNA zip file that includes the SISNA, service cost analysis, and a copy of the memorandum of understanding agreement. The zip file should be saved and uploaded to the SISNA application via SSWS as follows: the school division's name, SISNA zip file 2023-2024. For example, Jackson County SISNA zip file 2023-2024.
The next areas we'll address are the review and approval of the SISNA. Once a division has completed and submitted their SISNA, the application will be reviewed by VDOE staff. VDOE staff will use a checklist in reviewing all submitted SISNAs to ensure all required components have been included or addressed, and to document any issues that may need to be discussed with the division. Once a division's SISNA has been reviewed and the checklist has been completed, each division will receive an email notification indicating the approval status following VDOE review. This email notification will be sent to the division's special education director. Individual follow-up meetings. Regardless of the approval status of a division SISNA, VDOE will schedule a follow-up meeting with all divisions that have submitted a SISNA. Divisions will receive individual email contacts to schedule the meetings at a date and time convenient for all participants. For some divisions, the follow-up meeting may include a discussion of any issues identified during the VDOE review that might be impacting the approval status. The follow-up meetings for all divisions will include a discussion of data and information submitted and an opportunity for the division to confirm the accuracy of these data. The follow-up meeting for all divisions will also include a discussion with an overview of the data submission process and the funding process. This discussion of the funding process will have an emphasis on the impact of a division's possible funding based on the data submitted in their system. Please note, it is expected that all members of the division SISNA team will participate in these meetings, as the meetings will touch on the programs and services specified, staffing costs to provide these services, the data submission process, and funds that might be reimbursed. Amendments to the SISNA. It is likely that many divisions will be submitting amendments to their original SISNA. This is not unusual, and it is not indicative of a problem. In general, as mentioned earlier, there are 3 possible reasons that a division might need or want to submit an amendment to their SISNA. 1, the division may recognize that they need to revise something in the SISNA. This could happen at any point in the year. 2, the VDOE review of the SISNA may result in the need for a division to submit an amendment to one or more components of the SISNA before the SISNA can be approved. And 3, when data are submitted with a division's claims, either the division or VDOE may see that the actual claims differ from the information submitted with the original SISNA to a degree that is significant enough to require amendments to the SISNA. When amendments are needed, again, as noted earlier, the SISNA includes a section in which most of the tabs for the required components, where information specific to the amendment can be entered and resubmitted. Divisions will need to contact VDOE and discuss how and when to submit the amended SISNA. Please note, part of the intent of VDOE staff in addressing these issues in this section of the SISNA training is to impress upon divisions that the submission of the SISNA is only the beginning of a process that includes several steps and requires and may require considerable work on the part of divisions throughout the course of the entire school year, with all of the division's SISNA team members involved.
We will conduct 2 Q&A sessions on August 24th and September 12th. Zoom information can be found in the Assistant Soup's memo pertaining to the SISNA. Thank you for your time. Please do not hesitate to reach out to CC Reed or Paul Raskoff if you have any questions. Thank you again.